Son of Godzilla came out in 1967 in Japan under the title Monster Island's Decisive Battle, Godzilla's Son. Yeah, the Japanese titles were a bit weird, so I think it was just best to call it Son of Godzilla. But anyway, this movie takes place on an island, again, just like the last movie. A group of scientists are stuck on the island to try to work on weather experimentations and see if they could possibly control the weather. Oh shit, it's Geostorm! Run! Get out of there! I just had to take a jab at Geostorm. But anyway, they don't have the best luck because a reporter comes in who they didn't ask for. They don't want to give any of their information away to this reporter. But he's actually the least of their problems, because the island is infected by giant praying mantises that have been named Kamacuras, and these things grow big. They keep growing and growing as the movie goes along, and then to escalate things even further, the Kamacuras come across a giant egg that they basically crack open, and it's revealed to be a baby monster that very well could be the son of the king of the monsters. And then sure enough, Godzilla approaches the island, makes landfall, kills most of the Kamacuras, and then saves his son. And the rest of the movie is the scientists working on their weather experiment, while we get to see the son of Godzilla named Minya grow up, and just kind of the weird father-son bonding moments between the two monsters. This is one of the Godzilla movies that is the most well-known, maybe not for all the right reasons, but it's actually the one that I've seen the least. Out of the entire franchise, I've probably seen Son of Godzilla the least amount of times. But that being said, it's not that bad of a movie, actually. Let's talk about the biggest point of this movie, the son of Godzilla himself, Minya, who is actually never called Minya by name, at least until All Monsters Attack. The reason for that is because Toho would have this habit of just naming all the monsters, even if they don't actually get named in the movie, just for marketing reasons, just so people can know who the monster is. But anyway, a lot of fans credit Minya as being one of the most irritating monsters, probably the Jar Jar Binks of the Godzilla series. And I gotta be completely honest, with future movies I can see that, but with this movie in particular, there's just something so innocent and so, I guess, charming about Minya. It is definitely a more lighthearted movie, and the reason for Minya's creation was kinda to appeal to couples, not necessarily kids, but more like young couples, because when you just look at Minya, he's destined to be cute. And it's definitely a more comedic film than the last few movies were, and a lot of the comedy with Minya actually works. There are some funny moments where Minya is using his dad's tail as a jump rope as he's sleeping. There's another moment when Minya cries like a baby and Godzilla's just forced to drag him by his tail. And probably the most famous scene of the movie is when Godzilla's teaching Minya how to breathe atomic breath, and all he can do is just puff smoke rings until Godzilla steps on his tail. Great parenting right there. But I do really like Minya in this movie, probably because there's an innocence towards Minya. There's never anything offensive about this character at all, and he's not the death of the Godzilla franchise. It's not the point when the series just went in such a downward spiral that it wasn't ever going to recover. No, there are other movies that have done that, and yet the franchise continues to progress over time. But aside from the funny moments, there's just a lot of points with Minya where you feel sorry for him. When he's being ganged up by the Kamacuras, you just feel sorry for the poor guy. But the parts that really get me are near the end of the movie, once we introduce the giant spider Kumanga, which, like the Mothra larva, has the ability to shoot webs. And when Kumanga pretty much webs up Minya, the sounds that Minya makes sound very much like a cat that's either really stressed or dying. And anytime I hear an animal in pain, it just really bugs me and it makes me feel very uncomfortable, which is all the more reason why I was happy that Godzilla came in to save his son. And then there are a lot of points in the movie where Minya's sound effects sound like a sad dog. So it got me. I'll admit that it got me. And it mainly works just for this movie alone. Now let's talk about the special effects. With all the enemy monsters, Kamacuras and Kumanga, they're not guys in suits this time around. They're props. And they're actually pretty good props. They move really well, and you can hardly see the strings. It's pretty amazing, especially considering that, once again, Eiji Tsuburaya was not the director, but more the supervisor on this movie. And Godzilla this time around is not played by Haru Nakajima. In this movie, he's played by another suit actor, Hiroshi Sekita, who was often Haru Nakajima's sparring partner for a lot of the movies. He played Sanda, the brown gargantua in War of the Gargantuas. He played Gorosaurus in King Kong Escapes. He played Ebirah in the last movie that I reviewed, Ebirah Horror of the Deep. He played Anguirus in Destroy All Monsters, the movie I'll be talking about tomorrow. And he played Gabra in All Monsters Attack. So he's been a veteran suit actor, and the reason he was picked to play Godzilla this time around instead of Haru Nakajima is just to give contrast between Godzilla and Minya's height. I mean, eventually Haru Nakajima would play Godzilla in movies alongside Marchan the Dwarf, the suit actor who would play Minya. But just for this movie alone, since Minya is still a newborn infant, they really wanted to showcase how big Godzilla is compared to his son. And again, the monsters do have a lot of personality. The end of the movie, when Godzilla is just holding Minya as the snow is falling from the sky, it just warms my heart. It's just so touching to see. Considering that it's just two monsters in rubber suits, it actually warms my heart. And you'd have to be a cold-hearted bastard to not get affected by this scene. For all the times that Godzilla has been an abusive father throughout this movie, he does care about his son. Now, what about the human characters? Well, they're a little more interesting than the ones in Ebirah Horror of the Deep. The two leads are actually very charismatic, and they do have good chemistry with each other. But with this movie, you're just more interested in seeing Godzilla be a father and just seeing all the comedic stuff with Minya. You don't really care about this weather experiment at all. In fact, there's another subplot in this movie involving one of the characters who slowly starts to go insane. And ultimately, it doesn't result in anything. It just makes it incredibly inconvenient for the other characters to continue their weather experiments. And one thing that really confused me, and I think this is just bad writing, is that there's a point in the movie when the two main characters have to go to this hot spring in order to get some water that could cure one of the characters' insanity. But this very same hot spring is what Godzilla uses to show Minya how to use his atomic breath. Because Godzilla basically fires his atomic breath into the water twice, and then Minya fires his atomic breath into the water after Godzilla steps on his tail. And then Minya does it one more time without Godzilla stepping on his tail. And after that little lesson, the human characters decide to take the water from the springs and give it to the character who's losing his mind. And all I could think of was, you guys know that Godzilla just radiated that water 2 times, and then his son radiated as well twice. You're just gonna give that dude radiation sickness. You're gonna kill him. Whatever, maybe I'm thinking about it too deeply, but considering that Godzilla has always been a metaphor for the atomic bomb, they didn't really quite think that part through. So to wrap things up here, I actually do enjoy Son of Godzilla more than Ebirah Horror of the Deep. And the score is once again done by Masaru Sato, and I still like his score for Ebirah more than Son of Godzilla. But it's still a really good score. It has its share of comedic moments. Minya is adorable, and the special effects scenes are a lot of fun. The Kamakros and Kumanga props look really cool, and it can be a little heartfelt at points. So I would say it's good. It's just not great in the slightest. Once again, it doesn't reach the heights of the Ishiro Honda films, but this is a very enjoyable Godzilla movie in its own way. And that's my review for Son of Godzilla. Tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at what was initially going to be the very last Godzilla movie made, Destroy All Monsters. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this review. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the movie, if and when you've seen it. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.